come to you in many languages and cultures, presenting shows and programs in various arts and craft disciplines.
Fresh ideas for spring. Celebrate, create, and connect at CALS. April is Earth Month, and the Central Arkansas Library System is going green with eco-friendly programs, hands-on activities, and resources to help you make a positive impact. Don't miss the CALS Speakers Series.
Thousands of Social Security workers, Elon Musk is trying to whack Social Security itself. Hear about this today on Hightower's Radio Lowdown.
Hey,
Chris here, host of the Little Rock Pedestrian Show, where we aim to see Little Rock become a more placard and pedestrian-friendly place. Proud to announce that Boulevard Bread Company is now a sponsor. Boulevard Bread has been serving Central Arkansas since 2001 with 3 convenient locations to choose from, including the Heights, Soma, and the Baptist Medical Center. More than a bakery, Boulevard Bread not only serves some of Arkansas's finest crafted breads, but they also serve soups, salads, sandwiches, and have a selection of olives, cheeses, beer, and wine. Follow Boulevard Bread online on Instagram or Facebook, or check out their website, boulevardbread.com, to see information about their menu and their specials. Boulevard Bread and the Pedestrian Show are a proud difference maker in the community, and we're looking to see how Little Rock can become a more pedestrian-friendly place. Listen to the show every Monday from 5 o'clock p.m. to 5:30. Every Monday, Little Rock Pedestrian Show at Boulevard Bread. Thanks so much.
There are 133 public libraries in Arkansas, and many of them could be in jeopardy of closing because of cuts from the Trump administration. The Institute of Museum and Library Services, which provides federal funding to libraries, is one of 7 agencies to be closed by executive order. The order, signed mid-March, calls them unnecessary. Cindy Hull with the American Library Association points out that local libraries give people access to the internet and technology.
Especially in small rural areas where people may not be able to afford those services or access in their homes. So we rely heavily on that access through the public library. So if we see a decrease in federal funding to the point of where it's a third or even a half of their budget, those libraries will have to make difficult decisions.
The association has filed a lawsuit seeking an injunction to reverse the cuts and stop any further steps to dissolve the agency. She says the library grants make up less than 1% of the federal budget. The group has also launched an online campaign where the public can get involved to save federal library funding. Hull says more information is online at ilovelibraries.org.
We are hoping that everyone will send a message to their senators and representatives, urging them to overturn the executive order and to protect IMLS funding. And we're asking people to encourage their friends and family to do so online.
Hull adds today's local libraries are for a lot more than just checking out books.
A lot of veterans will come in and use the library for telehealth appointments, and we support entrepreneurship. So small business owners, they absolutely use the library. So we also provide homebound services to senior citizens. We offer book clubs and computer classes.
There are 125,000 public libraries across the nation. I'm Frida Ross, Arkansas News Service. Find our trust indicators at publicnewsservice.org.
Fresh ideas for spring. Celebrate, create, and connect at CALS. April is Earth Month, and the Central Arkansas Library System is going green with eco-friendly programs, hands-on activities, and resources to help you make a positive impact. Don't miss the CALS Speakers Series on April 17th with best-selling author Amanda Jones discussing her book, That Library. The fight against book banning in America. Reserve your free seat at cals.org. And on April 26th, bring the kids to Children's Day El Dia del Niño at Maumelle Library for a DIY foosball workshop with artist Vicente Yanez. For all the details, visit cows.org. Celebrate, create, and connect this April with cows.
Hey, listeners, this is Wade Bradley at KABF. We are a non-commercial, listener-supported radio station. We are able to stay on the air and offer unique programming because listeners like you become members and pledge $5, $10, or $20 every month to support us. This is the month to become a KABF member. Go on our website, KABF.org, and sign up today. We're not too proud today. We need you and we are you. Please support us now.
You got Denise, we gon' get it up. Everybody's dancing to that you join love. Hold on to your way, hold on to your man. Cause never's in the building, y'all, and it's going to fast. Whoa, 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 whoa. Got my boots on the ground. Yeah. Got my boots on the ground, baby. Boots on the ground, kicking up some dust. Boots on the ground, kicking up some dust. Where to find it? Where to find it? Where to find it? Give me one time, give me two times. Oh, 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 got my boots on the ground. Yeah, yeah. Oh, 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 I got my boots on the ground. Boots on the ground, kicking up some dust. Boots on the ground, kicking up some dust. Where to find it? Where to find that? Where to find that? Give me one time, give me two times.
Yes, we are live right here at KABF 88.3 FM, where we are the voice of the people. You are listening to Community Voices, always showing up at 9 a.m. every Tuesday, CST, right here at 2101 South Main Street in the city of Little Rock and in the state of Arkansas. We are so glad that you have joined us on this day. I am your host, the Reverend Doctor, but you can call me Denise, and I am rolling solo this morning. It's no telling what Toney is doing. It's no telling where he's doing it, but I guarantee you it's got something to do with helping some people. So he's out and about doing his thing, and I'm sure he'll tell you all about it once he returns to the radio studio. Oh, that reminds me, this Thursday is the Health Corner. This Thursday is the third Thursday of the month. Every third Thursday of the month, we have the Health Corner on Thursday mornings at 9 a.m. And so I don't know why that reminded me of that, but yes, you need to know. Thank you so much for joining us in this space where we center Blackness in the context of the human story. We greet you in the spirit of Sawubona, the spirit of oneness, the spirit of interconnectedness that reminds us that there is nothing we can do about the fact that we are human together, but we can try to figure out a different way to love and a different way to live so that we can turn this world around, because we are absolutely going in the wrong direction right now. And you You are the ones who make it possible for us to show up every single week, every single day, all day long. It's because of you, and we don't take that for granted. We appreciate you. We appreciate your love, your support, your encouragement, your challenge, your pushback, every kind of way you offer yourself to us. For that, we are grateful. So thank you so much for joining us this morning. We coming in hot with 803 Fresh, singing Boots on the Ground. It's going to ground our conversation this morning. But before we get started with that, let me just make a couple of announcements. I want to say thank you to those of you who showed up on Saturday to celebrate with me. I don't know if I'm going to do it every year. I was getting ready to say the first annuals. I don't know if I'm going to do it every year, but I wanted to hold space for my mother in the place that she loved. She loved the sanctuary. She absolutely loved that place. So for you all to join me in laughing and giggling and sipping and chewing and playing and we had a great time, and it was so much going on. Oh my goodness. First of all, there was this huge mistake with the invitations that went out. The wrong guest list was clicked, and it was just, oh my goodness. I thought it was going to be an absolute mess, but it was not. So it was a very dramatic day. We started out with line dancing. We went from line dancing to people being missing in action, to people storming out the room. Like, it was a lot going on, but I'm so glad that you all joined me. I just realized this morning that I have failed to post the pictures on Facebook. I will do that as soon as I remember later on today. I also want to make the announcement that this Saturday, April 19th, at the same location, the sanctuary, which is located at 520 East 16th Street, 520 East 16th Street, 72202. We're going to have the community conversation that's entitled Beyond Racism, Resistance in the Face of Anti-Blackness. Beyond Racism, Resistance in the Face of Anti-Blackness. This is a community space. That means people from all walks of life are welcome to join us in this conversation. Everybody should be a part of it, because there's something for everybody to learn. There's something for everybody to contribute. There's something that we're waiting to learn from you. So we invite you to show up in this space. The doors will open at 6:30, and the conversation will start promptly at 7 o'clock. So that's happening this Saturday, April 19th, 6:30, the doors open, 7 o'clock, the conversation begins, and it is happening at 520 East 16th Street, right here in Little Rock, 72202, for those of you who need to use the GPS to get there. Yes, so those are the announcements that I have for this morning. I want to ground our conversation in boots on the ground, because on Thursday, it might not have been Thursday, it might have been last Tuesday. Last Tuesday when I was on the air, I was going in hard on Raven Simone so that I could get to the conversation about us being careful how we're being used with our rhetoric, and how we have to pay attention to what it means to be American, and really ask ourselves, are we being treated as Americans? Does America see us as Americans? And what does that look like to be American? So that was where the conversation was headed, but got bogged down in talking about the ridiculousness that had been coming out of Raven Simone's mouth. And so Ezekiel called in and was like, hey, get off her. Like, can we talk about Jasmine Crockett? And I was like, nope. Like, I was not willing in that moment to change the trajectory of the conversation, but that does not mean that I was not listening to what Ezekiel was saying. And so today we are having the conversation about Jasmine Crockett, and I could not think of in that moment a better song. I could think of other songs, but I could not think of a better song to bring us into this conversation than than 803 Fresh singing Boots on the Ground. For many of us, we have just now we are being overwhelmed by boots on the ground. Hold on a minute. Here's Lo talking. Lo says, American, first and foremost, why do we not see the Africanness in ourselves? Oh, okay. So talking about last week's conversation around what it means to be American. And so Lo is asking us, what makes us skip over the African part to get to the American part? Like, why not see the Africanness in yourself before trying to be American like somebody else? So that's the question that Lo is posing for anyone to answer right here. And the phone lines are open at 501-433-0088. Caller, you're live on the air at KABF at 8.3. Thanks for calling. Caller?
Hello?
Hello? This is KABF at 8.3 FM. Did you mean to call us?
Hi there. Is Mr. Larry or Miss Angel Cross there?
No, they are not here.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You are so welcome. Mm-hmm. Anybody else? The phone lines are open at 501-433-0088. Phone lines are open at 501-433-0088 if you want to get in on the conversation, if you want to answer Lo's question about seeing the Africanness in yourself first before thinking about being American. But when I think about 803 Fresh talking about boots on the ground, his conversation about this song is really about delving into and being reminded of Black joy. Now, anybody who listens to the song is welcome to get along, get on down with it. I'm trying to think of some hip phrases. I don't have any hip phrases right now. Get you a little bam bam going. And my little godson, he teaching me that word. But there's this line dance that accompanies boots on the ground. And many of us have been inundated with this line dance because everywhere on social media, you see it happening on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, or whatever other channels there are. This line dance has taken us by storm. And the one video that I love the most, you talking about bring me joy. Have y'all seen little Miss Shirley? She's 2 years old. She can't be no more than 2 years old. And baby, when I tell you she knows how to do that line dance, and she got that bap, 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 bap. I love it. And so when we talk to 803 Fresh and you interview him and you ask him about the song, it is rooted in the culture of line dancing. Yes, that is something that we as people of color, there's something about the way that we were created that causes us to have an immediate connection with beats and basses. It comes from remembering the drums. Like we carry it in ourselves, just the beat of the drum that drives us to do whatever it is that we are being called to do in that moment, to exhibit and demonstrate some kind of strength in the face of whatever we are going through. Music helps us do that, which is why it's a part of our protests all the time. Caller, you're live on the air, KABF at 8.3 FM. Thanks for calling.
Oh, good morning. I'm going to ask you a question, then I'm going to hang up and listen. Now, they have brought this song into the churches, and I just want to know what's your opinion of it. And I'll hang up and listen.
Okay. So the caller said that this song, Boots on the Ground, has been brought into the churches, and she wants to know what my opinion is about that. I think that churches are really having a difficult time right now trying to figure out where they fit in today's world. We are carrying with us a gospel that is generations and generations and generations old, particularly for us as members of the diaspora, us diasporians, us people of color, us Black folks. Like we've been carrying this tradition, and many churches are now taking a look at the landscape and realizing that what we have been doing is no longer working. And we've got to figure out why people are falling away from the church. And it's not really hard to figure out why, because the church is quite judgmental. The church is quite traumatizing. The church is quite painful. The church is quite hurtful to many people. And many of us have stories about the deep-seated hurt of church pain. And so the churches are now trying to figure out, how do we become more relevant? How do we reinsert ourselves into the not just the daily lives, but the spiritual lives, not just the spiritual lives, but the daily lives, the political lives, the social lives of the people who need us the most, the people who are walking around here saying, listen, I came to the church because I was under the impression that it was a place for all people, that it was a place for refuge, it was a place for protection, it was a place for defense, it was a place for love and acceptance and embrace and belonging. Like, that's what I've come to know about the church, and I haven't been able to find that anymore. So the church is trying to figure that out. And I think in this moment, the church says, whatever is going to work for us to get people in the pews, whatever we need to do to speak to the moment, to speak to the spirit of the person for such a time as this, what is that going to take? And for some of them, they said it's going to take us being in tune with what's happening beyond the four walls, as well as what's happening on the inside. And so since this song is a craze, what's wrong with us incorporating it into what we do? Because all of what we do is holy. All of what we do is holy. We are all sacred. So there's no such thing in my mind as this belong over here and that belong over there, because God is everywhere. So even if you choose to do boots on the ground outside the church, God is there. So what's the difference in doing it in the church? God is there too. And so I don't have a problem with it at all, because I know that churches are struggling to figure out how they can reach the people who are looking for a place to worship, a place to be holy. Here's Lo talking. Get my glasses on. God is holy. God is holy, and to remind those church folks, and I am paraphrasing this, I am holy, so ye be holy. So this is Lo saying, God is holy, and to remind those church folks that I am holy, so you should be holy too. And so when I was responding to the caller, Paul says I sound like Paul, and I know exactly what you're talking about. Paul says I will be all things to all people in order to further his goal and his mission of making disciples of Christ. That's the language I use. That's the language we use in the United Methodist Church. But he was looking to recruit people, to connect people with being members of the way. And so Paul says I'm willing to do whatever it takes. And so that is what I'm saying, that I believe that some of these churches are doing. We are willing to do whatever it takes. I don't believe that means that they're going to compromise their theology. I don't think that's what it means at all. I think that means that they realize that you got to speak to the people where they are. You can't talk to them on a different page. You can't come to them with a different kind of agenda, your own agenda. You have to meet people where they are. And then Lo says the same criticism that they gave David because they thought he was drunk. Yeah, same when David was praising. I'm talking about David was so excited about the ark. I'm talking about he was on fire. His chandelier had been ignited, and he was in the street, just dancing so hard. My older brother used to dance that hard. Dance so hard it came out his clothes. My brother would be sweating so bad he'd have to take off his clothes. So this is David, and he's dancing in the street, and his wife is looking at him from she's up top looking through a window, because most of the homes there, the dwelling places there were what we would consider to be two-story, because that's just the design of the time. And so she's up there, she's looking through the window, and she is ashamed of him. How dare you act like this, act like a rogue, act like like a barbarian. Like she was really, really upset about his display of praise and worship. And David said, listen, whatever else of my being, I'm gonna praise him. And that's what David was doing. And so we have to be careful here in the church, especially because I would venture to say that's one of the reasons the church is having such difficulty getting people in the building, is because of this kind of judgmental attitude that only certain things are allowed in God's presence, when God says specifically in Psalm 139, where even if you make your bed in hell, I'll be there. That's what God says. So there can't be anything that God would find unapproachable. There can't be anything that God says I can't touch. There can't be anything that God says is not good enough for me, because God is with us in all of the ways that we need God to show up, if that's what we want God to do. I mean, I'm not trying to proselytize, I'm just saying. And so Boots on the Ground, 803 Fresh, was actually talking about, he's rooting this and sourcing this in the culture of line dancing, which is very much a part of who we are, particularly as folks that are melanated, especially those of us who are Black. It is just in us. Yes, it is a stereotype to say that all Black people can dance and no white people can dance. Like that's absolutely a stereotype, and it absolutely is not true. And it's also true, it's true that that's not true, and it's also true that there is just something about the Black body that knows how to move rhythmically to anything that you put on. It don't matter what you put on. We'll find the beat for Mary Had a Little Lamb. It does not matter. And so he's thinking about this culture of line dancing, and he goes, I think he's in New Orleans somewhere. This is 803 Fresh I'm talking about. He's the one who wrote this song, Where Them Fans At. And he was going from kind of venue to venue, kind of like event to event. And this one event, the people that were entertaining, they had fans, and they were using the fans as part of their entertainment. And he found it, he enjoyed it. Like, it was enjoyable to him. And then he went to the next venue, and they were entertaining them, but they did not have fans. And so he just turned around and asked the question, where them fans at? And he felt way down deep, oh my goodness, I'm on to something. Y'all know how we hear something sometimes and we'll say, that'll preach. There's something that somebody says that you grab hold to, you just feel like you can do something more with it. And so that's how he felt when he heard himself ask the question, where them fans at? And then he began to talk about, he turned it into a song, doing what artists do, and he turned it into a song, and that is what we were listening to coming in. And so he's talking about the line dance, and he's talking about being cowboys and cowgirls, because again, we have to have this conversation when we talk about centering Blackness in the context of the human story. It was just really interesting how when Beyonce was she came out with that country song that really went and hit #1, if I'm not mistaken. And then white people were saying she has no place in country music. And I'm like, it's the most ridiculous phrase for anybody to utter out of their mouths, or probably not the most ridiculous in the time that we're living in. I'm sure there are more ridiculous statements coming out of people's mouths, but this idea that white people can have some form or some faction of culture that belongs to them, when in fact there is nothing that the culture of whiteness, if you can call it a culture, has that they have not co-opted or stolen or I don't even want to say borrowed or taken from somebody else, particularly people of color, and especially Black folks. And so he's reminding us of our legacy as cowboys and cowgirls. Put your boots on and let's get out here and dance. And so this is the epitome of Black joy, when in the face of whatever it is we are going through. I know I used to say this all the time, I wasn't talking about it at that time about Black folks because I was not awake at the time. I was talking about it in the context of religion because I was asleep at the time. And I used to say that your life as a Christian was in one of 3 phases. Either you were just coming out of a storm, or you are about to go through a storm, or you just walked away from one. So either you just left a storm, you in a storm now, or you headed to a storm. That was the way I characterized life as a person who was living as a faithful Christian. But I don't think like that anymore. But I do think that principle is the same, especially when you think about race relations in America, particularly as they relate to people of the diaspora, that we could say that either we just got through fighting about something, we in the midst of fighting about something, or we about to head to a fight because somebody's always stirring up something around who we are and the fact that they do not want us to exist. And so he's giving us this opportunity to experience joy, any kind of joy, but in this case, Black joy, because again, we're rooting it in the culture of line dancing. So you got your boots on. I wore my boots today because I knew I was going to play this song. And so he's like, put your boots on, like, get out here. Dance, sing, enjoy, let your body go, kick up some dust, like just have a great time. We know there are things that we have to work on. We know there are things that we have to do. We know that there is work that has been assigned to our hands. And we are the only ones who can bring about the kind of liberation that we're going to bring about in our particular spaces, while other people do the same thing in their spaces. Like, but if for just a moment, let's celebrate with these boots on the ground doing this line dance. And that's what 803 Fresh's conversation is about around boots on the ground. I want to add something to that. So Lo says, it goes to the rule of one within the white community, one Black, one woman, one Hispanic, etc. It goes to the rule of one within the white community, one Black, one woman, one Hispanic, etc. I'm sure I was saying a lot. I'm not sure what that's about, but it reminds me of the fact that when you think about race, if many people the world has called white, people who are willing to have a deeper conversation around race, especially as it relates to the role of whiteness and the system of white inhumanity in the conversation, one of the things that those white people will come to realize, I was going to say that they will atone to, but they might not say it out loud, but if they're really doing the work, they will have to come to the realization that for many white folks, race is something that other people had. So you got black folks, you got what we used to call yellow and red. I'm so glad we don't use that language anymore, but brown, we used to sing the song, red and yellow, black and white. We used to sing the song. And so one of the things that white people have to realize is that you set up, the system of white inhumanity set up race to be something that they could exploit and they could use for their own personal gain as a collective, personal gain, and as a collective of white male landowners, that kind of thing. But that you continue to benefit from this same system, that you're setting up race so that other people can live with it, so that we could use race as a mechanism of control for those people that you deem to be inferior, that you deem to be on the lower part of the caste system. And so you didn't think of yourselves as having a race. You didn't think of white as being a race. So you can do things like say, when there's a law enforcement officer who guns down a black person in the street for no apparent reason other than they are black, you can say, that's just that one particular white person doing that, because you don't see yourself as part of a system. You don't see yourself as institutionalized. You don't see yourself as something that has been that's rooted and grounded and in the formation of us as a country, for you to pretend that whiteness is something else altogether over here. And so that oneness, that let's just act like it's one bad apple that we should be holding accountable, rather than dismantling the system that created the one black apple. So that's what I thought about when Lo said one person, like the system of whiteness loves to act like we're living in a world it's all about your individual. It's what you do. It's your merit. It's about how you pick your own self up by the bootstraps. It's you. That's just another lie that they tell us. So Lo corrects me, the rule of exclusion as it relates to race and humanity. That's what he was talking about. The rule of exclusion as it relates to race and humanity. So when I think of boots on the ground, I appreciate and absolutely can get in on what 803 Fresh is saying about how important it is to allow our bodies time to be at leisure, time to rest, time to relax, time to enjoy, time to laugh, time to giggle, time to do all of those things that allow us to be human, because it just is not healthy for us to constantly be on high alert because we're fighting so much. It sets up toxic stress in our bodies, and stress absolutely kills. And as Black folks, we are especially Black women, our bodies are 10 years older than our white counterparts because of weathering, which happens as a result of toxic stress. And so the need for us to experience Black joy is absolutely imperative, particularly in times like these where we are resisting so much hate, so much discrimination, so much retaliation, so much anti-Blackness in our world. And so when we talk about Jasmine Crockett, who is the center of this conversation for today, I thought about boots on the ground, because when I think about boots on the ground, taking it outside of the context of Black dance, line dancing culture, and think about it politically, and think about it politically, since she is a congresswoman from Texas, the 30th district in Texas, to think about in the United States Congress, to think about it politically, it's saying who is going to be willing to Go out on whatever limbs have to be gone out on, even if you have to go out on them on themselves, to show up in the space physically, to put my body on the line, to say I am willing to sacrifice even my whole self for the sake of justice. And so we've got Jasmine Crockett. That's what she's done. Boots on the ground. She had an experience when she was in college because she actually wanted to be either an anesthesiologist, the one who puts you to sleep when you have a surgery that's major and you have to shut all your organs down and then you bring them back to life, after the surgery. She wanted to be that one that's saying that, by the time I count, like just count to 100. And then when you start laughing, they say, we almost there. The person that puts you to sleep. So she wanted to be an anesthesiologist, or if not an anesthesiologist, she wanted to be a certified public accountant. And she had one particular professor who was like, girl, let me tell you what you're not. You have too much personality to be talking about you gonna be a certified public accountant. And so she did have someone speak to her in that way, but that's not what changed her mind though. Caller, you're live on it. I'm sorry, did I not get it fast enough? Caller, call back. I'm trying. 501-433-0088. The phone lines are absolutely open. That is not what changed the trajectory of her life. There was a professor who spoke those words to her. I'm not sure how she received them, but there was also an incident around a series of incidents, around race that happened to her when she was in college. Caller, you're live on the air at KABF 8.3. Thanks for calling.
Race that happened to her when she was in college.
I'm sorry, say it again.
KABF 8.3. Thanks for calling.
What is happening right now? Caller, I think you had your radio on when you were trying to call us, because I was listening to myself talk. I'm not really sure. But if you're trying to call in, please call back at 501-433-0088. Call back at 501-433-0088. And turn down your radio so that it won't interfere with you or with us. So when she was in college, she went to Rhodes College. She graduated Rhodes College with a Bachelor of Arts degree in business administration. Caller, you're live on the air at KABF at 8.3. Thanks for calling.
Yes. I would like to ask a couple of questions.
Okay.
Did you hear me?
Yes, okay. Go ahead, caller, with your questions.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loudly and clearly.
Now, European people, Caucasian people, whatever you choose to call them, they are doing what they're doing. Now, it seems like that's their nature to do what they are doing. Can you blame them from doing what they are doing by nature? Do we have to look at what we are not doing by nature?
Mm-hmm.
In other words, we are not doing what we should be doing, but we looking at what they are doing and constantly complaining about it. I don't see how that makes logically good sense. I talked about, I think I called once and I was mentioning about, okay, all the different things, the creation and inventions and things we see out here. I'm not saying people don't trust in the source of creation, but you can't find nothing that you can use in creation. We use spoon, we use cars, we use all these things, and none of them is in no Bible, no Quran, or nothing. It seems like to me the world can do real good without any kind of religion, because it causes killing, bloodshed, and everything else on this planet more than anything else do. And that's real. I don't have to be no scientist to see this. I can just imagine racism comes from the Bible, Quran, and all the other books. It pits people against one another. And that's just a real fact. Maybe you can help me out with this here thing.
Okay, thank you, caller. We'll try our best to answer your questions. Okay, so here's Lo saying it's not either or, but both. And meaning white folks are going to do what they are going to do. However, we as Blacks need to do what we need to do. Okay, so I think Lo is responding to the caller. It's not either or, but both. And meaning white folks are going to do what they are going to do. However, we as Black folks need to do what we need to do. And so that, again, brings up Jasmine Crockett, who is the center of our conversation today. And so I'm talking about boots on the ground, meaning the person who is willing to put their whole body on the line for the sake of justice, for liberation, for freedom. And that is what she's physically putting her body on the line for that cause. And that cause itself is a wide net. So anyone who's on the side of justice is going to benefit from what she's doing, but she's not shy at all about making sure that you understand that she's going to center Blackness in the context of the story every single time. And so that reminds me of our EJI tidbit for today. It is from the 13th of April in 1873. The 13th of April in 1873. An armed white mob kills 150 Black people following a contested election in Colfax, Louisiana. On April 13th in 1873, an armed white mob kills 150 Black people following a contested election in Colfax, Louisiana. So this was actually on Easter Sunday. And so for the caller to say, I think that religion is the absolute problem with what's going on in our world, because religion itself teaches us this kind of insider outsider relationship, this kind of I belong and you don't belong, and I'm better than you, and because I have this, because I got the Holy Spirit, or because I was immersed when I was baptized. So we get caught up in all of these things, and it tears us down. So clearly for the Ku Klux Klan, religion was an important part of what they were doing. And so you had to be a Christian to be a member of this cult. And then on Sundays, like Bloody Sunday, on Easter Sunday, they would have these kind of violent attacks that they're doing, clearly in my mind, in the name of their God. And so here they are fighting these Black folks, when really it wasn't even the Black folks who got, you would have thought that the Black folk had got elected. This is after Reconstruction. You would have thought they were mad because the Black folks were in office, because that is what Reconstruction was all about, integrating the Black community into the world of everything, including politics. And so you have there was this white man who was McKellar, who was actually elected as the governor. He was elected as governor, but he was not a person who believed in white inhumanity. So he was going to work on behalf of the people, which is what you're supposed to do when you get elected to office. But how dare this white man decide that he's going to do right by all people, including Black people? No. We got to get him out of office. So the Black people showed up as boots on the ground. They showed up to protect the governor and to protect the building in which he was housed. And so they put their bodies on the line for the sake of justice, not just against their own bodies, but saying, hey, we understand that Blackness is a part of the whole story. It's a part of the whole story. So we're showing up as Black folks as a part of this whole story that includes this white governor. And so they're trying to protect him because they want him to keep his office. And they know that here comes this white mob. White mob gets so upset that they're going to attack the building. Listen to what I said. The white mob in 1873 gets so upset that they're going to attack the building. Sound like the white mob that got so upset on January 6th in 2020, what was it, 3? And attacked the building. And so they turned the cannon. They were gonna look, when I tell you, they was about to blow this thing up. They set it on fire, and Black people began to surrender because they were like, oh, these people have lost their mind. They have lost their mind. Look, we're putting our body on the line because we feel good about this, and we want to stand firm on it. And we also have to make some decisions about our own lives in the process of this, right? So some of them are like, no, look, I've had enough. Like me, when I have to protest with people who are LGBTQ, I'm only going so far. I'm only going to the point where they say, send up the signal, you're about to be arrested. That's when I exit stage left. And so you all have to make those decisions. And so 150 people end up getting killed, 150 Black people end up getting killed in this riot, this massacre. And 3 white men are also killed because the system of white inhumanity cannot stand for Black folks in particular to show up as boots on the ground, to show up never scared, to show up unapologetically, to show up fiercely, to show up intelligently, to show up bravely, to show up courageously, to show up in our divine essence. They cannot stand to see us in that posture. And so they were willing to kill everybody, even the 3 white men that were killed. And so when we think about Jasmine Crockett, I couldn't think of a better song that I wanted to play, talking about boots on the ground, because that is what she is doing, being unapologetic, being fierce, being courageous, being a witness, being someone that we can turn to and look at and say, hey, this is the path that we should all be following. However, we can't follow her path. She's on the ground as Jasmine Crockett doing her thing the way that she has been called to do it. But we should also be boots on the ground in our lane, doing exactly what the caller is saying. Hey, there's some things that we ought to be doing as Black folks that we're not doing. Same thing that Lois saying. Now they doing what they're gonna do. The system of white inhumanity is rocking and rolling, doing what they're gonna do. And we ourselves have not yet decided that we're gonna raise up and do what we know we're supposed to be doing instead of what we're doing right now, which is acquiescing, which is acting like we are, well, still being enslaved, basically. Let me see what Lois said. However, did not nature give us 5 senses and some of us 6? Where is your reason, logic, and deduction function to disseminate what you need for your own liberation? Where is your reason, your logic, and deduction? Where is that to help you function and disseminate what you need for your own liberation? That's the question that's on the table from Lo. Where is your logic? I can tell you where the logic ain't. I remember when we used to teach logic in school. We don't teach that in school. They don't teach nothing in school. They don't teach. And this is not, I am not taking a stab at teachers at all. I'm talking about the system of education and what it so desires, particularly for Black children. And it is not the intent for them to learn, and it's not the intent for them to be all of who they were created to be. That's not the intent at all. So I'm talking about the system. I am not focused on any teachers at all. That would be crazy of me to do anyway, considering the fact that I taught school for 10 years. On some level, I get it, but I get it from the way things were 10 years ago. There are other ways I don't get it because I'm not living that world today. So you got Jasmine Crockett. And one of the things that I found fascinating about her is when you begin to dig into, I know what I was talking about. I was talking about the fact that she wanted to be an anesthesiologist or a certified public accountant. But when she was in college, there was a series of hate crimes that happened. And her school, she was attending Rose College, the school was really ill-equipped to respond to what was happening. She was receiving racist hate mail. Her friends' cars were being keyed. And so the school turned to the Cochran firm in order to get help with what was happening. And there was a Black woman attorney who showed up to represent the firm that changed Jasmine Crockett's life. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett changed her life. The way that she handled the situation, the way that she dealt with the content of what was happening. They were not successful in finding out who was responsible for what happened to them, but it did ignite in her a fire to want to fight for justice and to fight for liberation and to fight for freedom for especially her people, but for all people, because you will hear her talk about many different populations of folks. She will name them out loud and she will stand in allyship with them. So this is not just about Black folks. I have to keep saying this is centering Blackness in the context of a bigger, broader story, the human story. And so Jasmine Crockett has made it clear. She became the public defender in Bowie County in Texas. She started her own law firm, and during the Mr. George Floyd upheaval around his murder, around his execution on international television live in real time, she decided to also represent Black Lives Matter activist in court pro bono. So that means for free. And so she's putting her body, she's boots on the ground, putting her body on the line in every space that she deems herself a match. I know this is my space. When you talk to her, when you watch her in interviews, when you watch her on the floor of the house, she is always making sure that you know that she recognizes this is my lane, to speak truth to power, to expose the lies for what they are, to call you to stop pretending, to call a spade, to call a Republican, to talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene and to say, yes, I'm talking about you bleached, blonde, bad, built, butch body. Like, this is what she's doing. And so some folks are like, oh, she shouldn't say stuff like that. And she said, no. Remember, I am Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. I am called for such a time as this to do exactly what I am doing, to be boots on the ground, to raise up when it's needed, to defend myself no matter what, to call racism what it is, to call out racists when I see them. Like, that is what I'm called to do. And it takes a lot of courage to say, I'm going to stand firm even in the midst of danger, because she's getting hate mail even now. She's getting death threats even now because she dares to use her body as what she knows it to be, a weapon against white inhumanity. Caller, you're live on the air, KABF 88.3. Thanks for calling.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Go ahead, caller.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Just talk, caller. Just talk. Caller, you can't hear us because your radio is down. So that's why you can't hear. But we can absolutely hear you. Go ahead and call us back. Hit the ground running with your concerns, what you want to share with us. We want to hear what you have to say. This is 501-433-0088, KABF 88.3 FM, where we are the voice of the people. Calling live on the air, KABF 88.3. Thanks for calling. Yes.
Me again.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to say there's a lot happening in the world with ICE and immigration. You were talking about protests, kind of related. I think we should all get out and protest against what they're doing to basically innocent people just for being not Caucasian. Like, I'm a white person, but I see what's happening. I can't really hear you, but I hope you agree, and I'm going to hang up now. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, caller. We absolutely heard you. You said that with everything that's going on, particularly around ICE and immigration, that we all should be protesting, because he said this fits into the conversation because I'm talking about protests. We all should be protesting. So he says he's a white person and he sees exactly what's going on, and he's calling all of us to action in this protest space. And I just want to caution you Black folks. I know that we all know how to protest, and I know that sometimes it calls for us to protest, but in this particular case, we are asking for the other folk to protest, because we know what's going to happen if we come out there. Y'all don't want us to come out there. Y'all know how the administration is going to respond to us being out there. So this is a time for other folks, especially people who benefit from the system of white inhumanity, to do exactly as this caller has said and get out there, put your boots on the ground, put your body on the line for justice. Let me get these comments. I've missed a couple of comments. So here's one that says, this is low. I applaud Representative Crockett, and she knows that she has a target on her back, but she does not care because she knows that there are causes bigger than her. Absolutely. And so then Lowe says, protest, don't protest, vote their beat out of office. He didn't say it, so I'm not gonna say it. He did a beat. Instead of protesting, we should vote. And so I think what the caller is saying, for what's happening right now, like, we can't vote right now. So what can we do right now? Right now we can protest, and then when it's time to vote, we can exercise that right as well. Caller, you're live on the air, KABF 88.3. Thanks for calling.
Hello?
Yes, you're on the air.
Yeah, just one quick comment I'd like to say. You know, about ISIS and all of this, every people, every culture, actually you had your, what you call your slaves, and you had the Native Americans. So that put the slaves in the middle. We put the middle class, in other words, between white and them. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes, caller, we can hear you. Let me try this again. Callers, you can't hear us because you have to turn your radios down, and we understand that. But I promise you, we hear you. You are coming through loudly and clearly. Simply call back and just talk. Just talk like you're talking to yourself in the mirror. We hear you, I promise. The phone lines are still open at 501-433-0088, 501-433-0088. Caller, you're live on the air at KABF 88.3. Thanks for calling. Caller?
Okay, what I was going to say. Now, all the foreign people come here and they have prospered out the backs of the original people here. And none of them would stand with us. They set up their shops, they do all of these different things. We got at their bars, got work for rights and all this. None of them, you had a few guys you were being. Now, when is some of them going to come here? I don't really give a damn what I used to do. I really don't. People come here for this country, we get treated like shit. They ain't none of them done for us. So why should I grieve myself over something? Ain't nobody grieving over me. And people don't give a shit about me, really. And that's all I got to say about that.
Thank you, caller. And that is real talk. There are plenty of people who have the same that hold that same sentiment as the caller, that we have constantly put our bodies on the line. We have constantly shown up like a Congresswoman, Jasmine Crockett. We have constantly said, I'm willing to fight for everybody. And then when it's time for someone to fight for the cause of Blackness, for the cause to fight against anti-Blackness, we don't see very many people who don't look like us showing up. So this particular caller and many people who look like me are resistant to always being the ones that are sacrificing our bodies for everybody else. And as we continue to sacrifice our bodies for ourselves, because we still fighting too, like, why should I always be the one who's called to do that work? Why can't someone else do that work? And that's something we have to be careful with about Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett too, because many of us are looking to her and we got her up on a pedestal right now, and she's our everything. She's our spokesperson. She's our model. She's our savior. She's our Jesus. She's our, and we cannot allow that to happen. She needs our help. She can't be the only one with boots on the ground. Now, she's the only one that we need in that particular space. Now, where is your space? That's what you need to find out. Where is your space and get in it? And so Deidre says there still needs to be strategic actions to protect yourself. Voting and protesting will not protect you. There still needs to be strategic actions to protect yourself. Voting and protesting will not protect you. And then Lowe says, an old African proverb, the lion and hyena will never be friends. The lion and the hyena will never be friends. And that speaks to why many of us as Black folks are so quick to put our bodies on the line for every other population, because we want to be friends with them. We want you to like us. We want you to we want to live into that kumbaya moment. And all of those moments, it's not possible for us to be kumbaya in this country. We haven't done the work to prepare to be, I was going to say be reconciled, but to either connect with each other across racial lines. We haven't done the work. So kumbaya is not possible right now. Caller, you're live on the air, KABF at 8.3 FM. Oh, caller, I'm not moving fast enough. I'm trying to move to get everything going. Caller, you got 1 more minute if you want to call back. Caller, we'll try to get you on the air. You got about 1 minute. And so Representative Jasmine Crockett, every time you see her, I wanted to get to the part about the rhetorical style, but I didn't get to it. But anyway, so Representative Congresswoman, she's a United States in Congress. She's a representative for the 30th District in Texas. And she is willing to say what needs to be said at all times, in all places, in front of all people. She is not scared. She is boots on the ground. So as we listen to the song and as we do the line dance, as we experience Black joy, we have to understand that even our joy is part of an overall strategy to make sure we're doing the work so we can be boots on the ground in our context, whether it's at your school, whether it's at your church, whether it's at the hospital, wherever it is that you are, raised up and be boots on the ground so that we can move forward better, faster, stronger towards collective liberation. Thank you all so much for joining us for Community Voices. You have been live right here at KABF 88.3 FM. Your girl Lola's right here, ready for 2 hours. You don't want to touch that dial for Jazzy Tuesdays. We're going to get you started with the ladies. You got Vivian Green singing Emotional Roller Coaster. Stay right here. Don't touch that dial. We'll see you next time. Oops, on the ground.
Can you do the little dance?
Yes, ma'am.
I know you
can.
can. You can do the dance.
Yes, ma'am.
Girl, quit playing.